Hello. A different kind of video today. I was recently recommended this video, How You're Programmed to Be Poor. Seemingly another video in the usual never-ending stream of people chucking their "oh my god, I got so rich so fast, join my course" nonsense. This particular channel seems to idealize some quasi-cult leader named Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote a dogshit book titled Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which includes such gems as "the poor are to blame for their poverty" and "just get real estate investments." Basically a capitalist fairy tale, and that's not just my criticism, but of several people in that business world too. All the rest is either common sense platitudes or just outright questionable opinions. He's at pretty much every single company he's started to go bankrupt, yet he keeps up the grift because people pay to see him speak for some reason. He's also a scam artist, telling people to invest in empty plots of worthless land while charging a fee at his seminars.
Why does this guy get kicked out?
I paid $500 on it. I'm done.
If it didn't get any weirder, he's also a vocal Trump supporter and even co-authored 2 books with the guy. Fun. It'd be just as weird if he co-authored a book with Biden for that matter, but I wouldn't trust Biden around arts and crafts. As for the video in question, well, it's run by a channel that, as previously mentioned, also shills nearly $1,000 courses that'll magically teach you how to be massively wealthy. Their tagline is freedom of income, freedom of movement, freedom of choice. Yes. Their website, Abundancia, who knows how you pronounce it? I don't even think that's correct Latin conjugation, but whatever. It also reveals such gems as, "We always thought that when it came to being a globe-trotting citizen of the world, with free income, offshore companies and banking, multiple residencies, and a handful of passports, that was for the world's richest 0.1%. How wrong we were. If you're an independent entrepreneur, freelancer, or creative of any kind, you can set up an offshore company and a bank account in a place like Hong Kong, the UK, or Belize for as little as $200. Second, third, or even fourth citizenships and passports, while more difficult to attain than residencies, can be bought on the open market for as little as $100,000. Yes, everybody has that around. Or by investing small amounts in property abroad. And there are literally thousands upon thousands of small, medium, and large entrepreneurs legally lowering their global tax legally to single-digit numbers by moving where they earn, bank, invest, and do business around the world. So basically, dodge taxes, invest more than most people, even the imperial core, let alone, for example, Bangladesh, earn in a year to buy passports, and try to do as little work as you possibly can. Side note, this anti-work stuff is something I've never personally understood. Not to get all Protestant work ethic on you, I'm Muslim. But why wouldn't you want to do any meaningful work? I'm all for shortening the working day, automating all the tedious jobs, eliminating the bullshit ones, and developing a society where the work we do is actually fulfilling, but the capitalist dystopia we live in seems to only allow for people to imagine not being socially productive, and to encourage aspirations of joining the parasitical class leeching off of all the people that actually do the work. We'll get into all this in just a second. They also peddle crypto, with referral links, unsurprisingly, and they, of course, never forget to cover themselves with the usual "all info shall not be construed as financial, investing, tax, accounting, legal, immigration, insurance, or other advice. It may be incorrect, outdated, inaccurate, or reflect personal opinions. Everything at your own risk." Yeah. Now on to the video, which I'll be skipping around in for brevity's sake. Before I start the disclaimers, I'm sure these people are well-meaning. I hope so. I've only seen this one video, maybe the others have some useful information, but what I'm critiquing here is this way of thinking more than anything else. Don't harass or bother anybody, be decent human beings. Alright, let's jump in.
Number 1, we are programmed at school to be workers. Unfortunately, a lot of the ways that we are programmed to be poor, or at least programmed to stay in a certain economic class, come down to the modern education system. When we started automating tasks and producing products during the Industrial Revolution, the world needed people that would man these machines and factories that were popping up all over the globe. But they didn't just need people. They needed people that would follow orders, that were agreeable, that would be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and just execute those tasks in the factories.
In the beginning, she rightly states that the modern schooling system emerged out of a need for semi-educated workers to be able to run machines, be agreeable, understand hierarchy, obey that hierarchy, and respect property rights. Basically, capitalist social conditioning in order to make people more conducive to the alienating tasks of factory work and the relentless extraction of surplus value. Here's where it starts to get off the rails though.
In most schools in the developing world, there is no education pushing children into entrepreneurship or creating products or services when they leave school.
Creating products or entrepreneurship. Here's where the ideology falls in. To the people making this video, breaking out of the system is basically further entrenching yourself within it. When she speaks of mundane jobs, she doesn't really specify what she means, but what these people usually mean is any quote-unquote 9 to 5. The inverse to them is being an entrepreneur, obviously. Make and sell stuff, usually garbage with very little utility, at least semi-built to top half-truths, or outright fabrications directly aiming at common insecurities. Their product, the courses they peddle, is exactly an example of this. My issue with this type of hyper-emphasis on entrepreneurship is, again, who's going to do all the actual work that keeps society running? All the suckers apparently work 9-to-5 jobs, which include sanitation workers, doctors, engineers and construction workers that have built literally every facet of modern living, nurses, train conductors, IT people, the list goes on and on. I myself am a doctor, and I work the usual ridiculous hours to be expected of a doctor in residency. This genre of capitalist fantasy really irks me because the implication is, we want you all to be rich, but they advocate being an entrepreneur. Obviously, not everybody can be a do-nothing entrepreneur. Somebody has to actually do real work. Regular shift work, from the mundane to the highly technical. These people can't simply become entrepreneurs because of their actual jobs that need to get done and need time to get done. You can't sip sangria on a beach in Spain working 1-hour weeks if you're a technical specialist at a nuclear power plant. The logical conclusion is that not everyone can be an entrepreneur, and hence, by proxy, they advocate for a small sliver of the population becoming a leech on society by deriving the lie of the century, which is passive income. Barring select examples, most so-called quote-unquote passive income is either not actually passive, or is a result of somebody else actually working, not being paid their full worth. Furthermore, the ideological argument is even more horrific, as rather than advocating for a better world in which, yes, we all labor to an extent, but we all also have fulfilling jobs and all our needs are met, instead of this, the idea is to simply find the quickest way to be as least socially contributing as possible, even down to the not paying taxes bit. For a Marxist take on taxation, hint, you're secretly being taxed way more than you imagine, check out this video here. She moves on to make a good point that most modern educational systems don't teach regular people about taxation, mortgages, how to build and maintain wealth, how to grow wealth, investment, etc. Well, that's because the capitalist class has already put up barriers of entry, but still can use another gate to limit any potential competition for them in the future. Wealth, although generally growing by virtue of global economic development, isn't infinite. It leaves one place and goes to another, usually by incredibly unethical means. Back to the video in just a second. Let's hear from today's sponsor, Atlas VPN. For a lot of research that I do for my videos, I end up hitting pages that aren't available in my location. That's frustrating, as you can imagine. Geo-restriction really does suck, but not with Atlas VPN. For those unaware, a virtual private network makes all of your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, and hides your IP address and your online activities. It even allows you to change your location for all your researching needs. Developed by top cybersecurity specialists and IT engineers in 2019, Atlas VPN was created to make the internet accessible and secure for everybody. Currently, it has more than 6 million users worldwide, and boasts the best VPN deal on the market, with the most affordable online protection plan for just under $2 per month, if you can believe it, with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, what are you waiting for? Go down to the description and click that link, and use my code Hakim to get a 3-year subscription for just $183 a month, with 3 months free. But that's not all. You get blazing fast speeds for streaming or gaming, unlimited protection for all your devices, an inbuilt ad and malware blocker, and you'll get to save some extra cash, as Atlas VPN will find you the best deal online from everything from your online subscriptions to airlines, hotels, and more. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $183 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time is running out, so get your deal by clicking the link in the video description below. Massive thanks to Atlas VPN for the sponsorship. This is what allows me to pay my editor fairly, so the support is highly appreciated. Alright, back to the video.
Get an education, maybe go to college, get a good job, stay at that job for the rest of your existence, be an asset to somebody else's company, retire, then die. This is how most of us are being programmed.
Be an asset to someone else's company. Ideology at play again. Rather than potentially imagining the very real and accomplished tens of thousands of times over development of cooperative and state ownership of industry and enterprises, particularly within socialist countries, she's fundamentally stuck within the framework of just try to be another capitalist. Again, not everybody can be a boss. Despite the "we want everyone to be their own boss" starry-eyed rhetoric of these types, the logical conclusion, which they know and don't admit, is that under each singular boss there are tens, hundreds, or thousands of workers. The only way everyone can be their own boss is when everyone has democratic control over their enterprise or workplace. Only under socialism can this reality be realized, without the horrific and unending exploitation of other people, both domestically as well as around the world.
And there are two ways that this can happen for the most part. For some of us, it was because we were surrounded by specific people, perhaps parents that were arguing about finances. For others, it was hearing family members speak poorly about anyone that did have money. And for some, it was growing up in communities that were struggling, their family was struggling, or they were living in poor neighborhoods. Most people that grow up in an environment like this are programmed from birth to have a negative connotation when it comes to finances and anyone that has finances.
Ah yes, the reason you're poor is because of your mindset. You are surrounded by other poors, and as a result you have an inbuilt drive to remain poor. You hate rich people too much, probably like your landlord and the people that run the economic and political system of your country, in direct contradiction of its so-called quote-unquote democratic setup. Ignore completely the dictatorship of capital that we live in, where regular people's demands aren't even seen. Meanwhile, the ruling class can basically get whatever they like, though. Ignore the dozens of barriers set up to drag you down, from systemic racial discrimination in education and employment, how a massive chunk of the population rents and as a result cannot even dream of accumulating capital before late into their adult life, social and or political marginalization, conflict in large corners of the globe, inadequate infrastructure from simple things like water and electricity to internet, climate change, etc., etc. Not all of these affect imperial core people, but humanity is a lot more than just the imperial core. That's another issue with these get-rich-quick types. They claim this is for everyone, but a Kenyan tea farmer, or a Kurdish peasant, or a Peruvian mine worker can't even dream of starting an offshore bank account in Hong Kong. Hell, the basic fees of this stuff is sometimes months, if not years of payment for people who make up the bulk of humanity, and actually do the real work. Bringing it home for Americans, let's say, if you're an ethnic minority, in a highly policed neighborhood, with defunded schools, an insecure family life, and crumbling local infrastructure, telling that person that they're poor because of their mindset, or because they're surrounded by other poor people isn't just wrong, it's cruel. The way out of this isn't entrepreneurship, although that can have its time and place. The way out of this is proper and directed state investment in infrastructure, housing, education, healthcare, and employment.
And this is why, statistically speaking, people from poor communities tend to live out their lives in poor communities, not just because they have much less access to opportunities, because they can't mentally imagine a different way of existing.
And the metaphysical conclusion that doesn't have basis in reality. Yeah, your material conditions might kinda play a factor, sure, but it's your mindset, man.
Being poor, living in lack, may be so imprinted into your childhood mind that it's made its way into the subconscious belief system that rules you and rules, most likely, your financial life.
I can grant a basic premise that yes, the motivations you hold can sometimes play a slight role in your decisions, like risk-taking, for example. If you've always experienced poverty, you'd hold on to money tighter, hence potentially limiting your, for example, investment growth in the future, or your ability to start some business. But you have to also remember that the risk is many times multiplied if the person is poor. If they're already in poverty, it makes no sense to risk basically homelessness or a significant worsening of your already bad conditions for some Hail Mary attempt at getting a business or investment to pay off. Furthermore, you can't budget yourself out of poverty. Poor people not living within their means is a myth, it doesn't exist. Just because they have a phone and microwave, things necessary for a modern and civilized existence, doesn't suddenly mean they're living outside their means. Likewise, smart budgeting can help reduce financial stress, but in the end there's only so much you can cut before you're reduced to only the bare essentials, which also is no way to live at all.
The first thing to understand is that that is not your fault. And just because a situation was a certain way, it doesn't mean it has to continue. It can be changed. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the video. The other part of being kept poor by belief I see comes from the media. We're talking books, TV, movies. Let's look at TV and movies. I'm sure that you've seen the trope of the evil rich person before. It might be the evil king or queen that is filthy rich. It might be the billionaire supervillain. In cartoons, the evil person, Cruella de Vil, Scrooge McDuck, or Robin Hood. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. No matter what format, you've probably seen it.
Again, blaming general and correct social perceptions of society as the root causes of your poverty is just plain stupid. These stereotypes exist because they're true. Look, being rich isn't making $200,000 a year as some technical professional. Being rich is yacht money. Being rich is being able to influence governments to do whatever you want. She never defines what being rich is in this video, but the examples she gave shows that she has an idea of what is meant. No one is being taken out of context here. I'll give examples. Pelosi and her husband have been in the news recently for insider trading, another thing that regular people can never dream of doing, by the way. She's worth over $100 million and is at the direct levers of power of the most powerful country on earth. Not for long, inshallah. Likewise, Congress is half-staffed with the exceptionally wealthy. Same with the Senate. Most Americans can't afford a $500 emergency. Meanwhile, the people sending and bombing kids to die in wars across the globe are all multimillionaires, usually in the hundreds. The situation in most imperial periphery countries is even worse than this. Exxon's board of directors took a decision to hide their very clear and conclusive research on climate change in order to extract more profits. All of modern capitalist history is polluting rivers, destroying indigenous and or sacred land, bulldozing forests, paying literal children cents on the hour, and employing fucking Coca-Cola death squads. Read a book, please. Being rich doesn't make you evil, whatever evil means. We're not making moral judgments here. But the stuff you need to do, or not do, in order to get so filthy rich are fundamentally unethical by design. That's why it's called being filthy rich. Reduce environmental protection or lobby to get those laws removed. Eliminate worker safety laws. Destroy unionization efforts. Employ ethnic minorities or women only to pay them less. Rig the elections of other countries in order to benefit you personally, to the massive economic and social loss of millions. This happened as a result of American meddling in Iraq, in Central America, in the Congo, and at home.
Number 3. Most people are poor by design. This may be the most difficult part of the video for people to hear, but the truth is that the majority of the population is designed to be poor, and it's mostly the design of the systems that we live in. And this rigged system revolves around unchecked capitalism.
Yeah, boy, she said it. Pack it up, everybody. Our job is done. Arise, you workers from your slumbers. Arise, you prisoners of war. Wait. Hold on. Unchecked capitalism? False alarm, people. Back to work.
The wealth that nations generate from capitalism allows countries such as Norway, Iceland, Australia, and many more to provide social services for the population, healthcare, great infrastructure. Capitalism creates opportunity and the ability for the people to create something of themselves, create something from their lives instead of just being stuck in the situation that they were born in.
How does she not see this? Capitalism is the reason most people are stuck in the situation they were born into. The systemic reproduction of poverty, while at the same time generating more wealth than humanity has ever seen before, is the true barbarity of the system. That was one of Marx's more social commentary type of points. Before someone says it, no, capitalism hasn't lifted more people out of poverty than anything else. The Communist Party of China, with intelligent state investment and directed 5-year plans, is what has lifted more people out of poverty than anything else. Removing China, the numbers are far less impressive, if even at all positive. Furthermore, Norway, Iceland, Australia, etc. fund their social programs through imperialism and unequal exchange. It's wealth extracted from the imperial periphery that subsidizes these welfare states. Check out these videos here for a deeper dive.
But unchecked, it can create a lot of drama, it can create a lot of pain, and it can keep people poor. Let's look at companies, giant companies that are able to advertise to you indiscriminately with very little regulation. Every day, in and out, advertising, doom, trying to drain your wallet as much as possible. Capitalism allows some of these companies to use psychology, your emotional triggers, your hardwired genetic impulses to override your rational thinking so that they are able to sell more. Capitalism allows banks to give worse terms, lower interest rates, higher fees to those already at the bottom of the economic ladder, keeping those people stuck in that position. Capitalism allows companies to pay their workers less than living wage so that the people have to get multiple jobs in order just to make ends meet.
Yeah, basically. Now this is unchecked capitalism. This is how capitalism is supposed to function. Furthermore, the ideology you're propagating has its logical conclusion in hopefully having started some business that takes off and becomes huge, which is when you too will advertise to play on people's insecurities, break unionization efforts, pay people poverty wages, etc., etc. Again, always follow the train of thought to the logical conclusion.
They don't care. They don't want you to save. They want you to spend. We've been programmed from the youngest age, just spend. Do not save your money. That saving money is evil and it's dumb and you should live in the moment and rejoice.
Yes, something we both agree with. Now she'll talk about what someone can do about their situation.
Previously mentioned in other videos that when I was young, that my parents played Tony Robbins in the car or Robert Kiyosaki for me.
The aforementioned cultist that scams poor people and has gone bankrupt like a dozen times. Alright, so stage 1, listen to these known douchebags. Rewire your thought process for success, because those medical bills or the credit card debt that allows you to keep your car running, which you need to get to work in a car-centric hellscape, all that will just disappear. She then mentions how her partner basically also listened to these same people, then a few question marks, and then, oh wow, millions of dollars in sales. He's apparently a market consultant now. Good for him. Thing is, not everybody can be that. She then talks about actually taking action and not just relying on mindset, which I agree with. Then, apparently, stop talking to poor people about poor people topics, like how their boss is an asshat. Stop watching movies with evil rich characters in them. Like, I don't know, Scrooge McDuck, I don't fucking... Get therapy, which is one of the few pieces of advice that's actually kind of decent. Give yourself 12 months to rewire your brain. Go to seminars and learn, which is like semi-decent advice, depending. Try to avoid debt, decent advice. And don't keep up with the Joneses, which I don't know which 50s white picket fence couples you surround yourself with, but I've never seen this shit in my life. Maybe you have. And then the video ends. I'm assuming the call to action was to check out more of their videos, which I won't do, but I'm sure there's at least some decent advice somewhere in there. No one here is saying don't invest or care for your financial future, but being aware of the ideology of it all is beneficial. Furthermore, there's nothing wrong with trying to secure your financial future under capitalism, but that's why we fight for socialism, so we wouldn't have to step over the heads of our fellow man in order to get there. Watch Gupnik's great video on this topic here. And that's all for this time. If you enjoy what I do, then please consider supporting me on Patreon, it really does help. I'd like to thank my patrons, so thank you too. Billy the Jook, Green Candle, Chili Cheese Quesadilla, Nene MC, D Thorn, Ahmed Jabbar, 6IV Vane, Vexter, Travis Macon, Alive Tech, I Am Strass, Hannah Robbie, Liberty Bell Ringing, Paul, Matthew Wade, Cy Simmons, Adam Evans, Hyena, Eat Your Landlord, Cam W, Wayland, Zen, Brendan, and Wisdom JI. Thanks for watching.